All right. Well,
Does it correct itself?
what, the shakiness?
Yes,
No, that's in there.
it's
I
in
mean,
there
when
too.
the shakiness is there, this is real high production value videotaping that we're doing here because we want just the very best
Of course,
for our readers and our
our blog people.
yes, those people,
Yes,
those folks.
people.
One of the things that I wanted to share with you today is something about the legal documents that are available
Yes.
for
Okay.
people who are just basically above the age of 18. Because everybody thinks you have to be sick or dying in order to complete these documents, and you really don't. First, I'll make a complete apology that everything I'm going to talk about is going to be using California as a reference. However, these documents are available in most every state, at least the advanced directives and the POLST and things like that. But
Okay, and if they're not, you can find them online.
yeah, absolutely. You can Google it, and we'll talk a little bit about how to do that. The first document that I want to talk about is really something that is called an advanced directive. And so you can see this is the California Advanced Directive. It's many pages. It asks for a number of things to be decided. But I want to focus on very simply what is the most important thing to come out of this document.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing that anybody can get out of this document is who's going to make decisions for you if you can't.
Right.
And so that is the number one thing that we're asking in this document, because that is the most important thing that this document does, is that it acts in your behalf in case you can no longer speak. Because if you can't speak, we need to have somebody who can speak for you. And it's not enough to say, my son or daughter knows what I want.
Because they don't.
They don't know.
No.
And if push comes to shove, they don't want to answer that question
Correct.
to a healthcare professional in an emergency room, or in a situation where making that decision may withhold care or send you in a direction that you might not want to go.
Yes.
So when people don't know what you want, those are not the people that can make decisions for you. They have to have this particular document. There's a number of other documents, but this one in particular basically gives the power of making healthcare decisions to anybody that you choose.
If you cannot speak for yourself.
Correct. Now, a lot of times people think it has to be a family member, but I want to assure you, sometimes it shouldn't be a family member.
Correct.
The family member, if you chose a family member or anybody that you chose, they have to be competent.
Right.
One themselves. So
Right.
they have to be capable of comprehending information, being able to act in your behalf, and actually understand what's written in this particular document.
And you have got to sit down with that individual and find out how they feel about very specific subjects. Not how you feel yet, but how they feel. Then you reverse the process. When you're satisfied that you like their answers, then you start talking about what you want.
Yeah. I think it's a good point that you make, Gail, is that a lot of times we think that people have shared values.
Yes.
And they don't always. I mean, I think that it's okay, because these are things that you want. And if you're clear about what you want and you've chosen the right person to act in your behalf, that person will be able to exercise decisions that you would want.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. If you walk into a patient's room and they have got a DNR, do not resuscitate band on their arm, and you have strong feelings because of religious or cultural convictions, you are the wrong person to sign that document. Because when push comes to shove, that person will not be resuscitated based on their own wishes. And they have already expressed those wishes to an appropriate medical person,
Mm-hmm.
and they have taken action on the patient's behalf.
And no, I think you bring up a good point, because that's probably the thing that patients fear the most, is that something will happen to them that will place them in an ICU on a ventilator, and they're going to live that way for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That certainly is people's biggest fear.
Well, not only that, Michael, but that person may have to be responsible for asking that ventilator to be removed. In other words, the physician may come to you as the caregiver and say, there's no more hope, and the decision has got to be made. Are you capable of making it?
Absolutely.
And they can't stand there and hem
Yeah.
and haw
Yeah.
and have an emotional
No.
breakdown.
One of the things that this document does do is it says the intensity of care that you would desire. In certain circumstances, you can have, I mean, these are kind of free-flowing documents. There's areas where there's a lot of places to put free text in. There's some overarching kind of decisions that people make with respect to different types of care that they would want or not want. But it's important for people, anybody over the age of 18 can complete one of these in the state of California. And most states actually have a document similar to this. This is not something brand new. This is freely available. Most hospitals will provide this kind of document for you at no charge because they want you to complete the documents too.
Yes.
Because this helps them care for you. If you get to the point where you can't make decisions, we need to have someone who can make decisions, because if we have no one to make decisions, what do you think happens to people?
The medical community makes the decisions for you.
Right. And sometimes those are the most conservative decisions that can be made.
Yes.
The default response is do everything. The default response is not do nothing.
Right.
And so if you're in a position where you want to make sure that someone who's acting in your behalf only does the intensity of care that you desire,
Right.
that's going to be important.
And you have to be willing to sit down with that in person and express some very, very hard choices. Do not, and if that person says, well, I can't do that. Oh my God, you want me to withdraw
I can't play
the
God.
offer. I can't withdraw the offer and find someone else.
Yeah. I think it's very important for us to have said that it doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. It can be.
It can be a best friend.
It could be your best friend. It could be somebody that knows and understands your values. The other thing that once it's completed, there's an area on the document to be notarized where you have to present yourself before a notary and they sign it and they verify that you are who you are.
Yes.
There's an area in here that if you want to instead do witnesses, you can witness the document. But once it's complete, you need to give a copy to the person you've identified as your surrogate decision maker. If you've listed any alternates, they need to know who's in charge.
Yes.
Your physician's office needs to have a copy of this. And every time you come into the hospital, you should bring an original document with you.
Yeah.
A copy is as good as the original, but you should hold on to the original. I'm sorry. Now, some people actually have this document memorialized in their family's trust. And that's a good place to have it done as well.
Absolutely.
If you don't want to spend the money with an attorney, you don't have to. The attorneys are going to use similar documents and they're going to charge you a fee for doing that. You can avoid paying that fee if you want.
Yes.
But the reality is that both, whether it's done with an attorney or not, it's a legal document.
It's a legal document. And there are very, very, even for a young person, guys, please pay attention. We don't want them to happen, but an accident, especially if you're an avid sports figure, can happen in a blink of an eye. So obviously if you participate in extreme sports, I would make sure that
if you drive on the freeway, let's put it that way.
Yeah,
if you drive on the freeway, anything can happen, and things sometimes do.
And things sometimes do. Right.
We're going to talk in the next couple of sessions, the other documents that are important for you to be thinking about. But this really is probably the most important one at this stage in your life, is to have someone identified legally responsible for making decisions for you. And so with that, I think you should go out and get the document, complete it.